Urban Debate tonight, an age-old practice decided centuries ago, deeply rooted in patriarchy and inequality, has been brought to an end today. With this long-standing practice basis of physiological phenomena as menstruation being the ground for denying entry to a certain age group of women from 10 to 50 years today has been completely overhauled, brushed aside and somewhere completely smashed by the Supreme Court of India.
It's going to change the lives of many women. Not only has it given us the right to pray, but also the primacy of equality over religion. The court has held that religion cannot trump the right to equality.
For years, the devotees have been divided on the issue, whether or not menstruating women should be allowed inside the Sabrimala Temple that worships a celibate god. Those opposing it haven't given up on the battle yet.
Definitely in 1 week or 2 weeks time before the temple opens, we will give review petition to the Honorable Supreme Court.
Hindu hardliners believe that courts shouldn't intervene in matters of religion.
Now this is clearly immoral. Men and women are equal in every way. We have women goddesses. So to say that a certain biological function they should be excluded is rubbish.
वर्तमान में जो माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट का निर्णय है ठीक आया है, लेकिन कुछ समय जो होता है 4-5 दिन के जो महिलाओं के जिस वजह से पूरे उम्र की महिलाओं को रोक लगा दी गई थी, इस पे ध्यान देने की आवश्यकता है.
But India hails the pathfinding verdict that seeks to end discrimination against women.
I'm very happy, just like a lot of other activists are. What the Supreme Court has reiterated today is that the Constitution is supreme.
ये हिस्टोरिकल निर्णय है और इसका सभी हम स्वागत करते हैं और जल्द ही हम तारीख डिक्लेयर करके जो है वो शबरीमाला में प्रवेश करेंगे.
Mirror now asks, as once again the Supreme Court bats for women's empowerment, is it time for the society to follow suit? Let's debate.
Well, the Supreme Court gives us another landmark judgment, this time allowing women into the Sabrimala Temple. But there are still several people who are unhappy or perhaps unconvinced by what the Supreme Court decided today. We have some of them on our panel this evening. The idea will be that while the Supreme Court can lead the way, it is also important for us to open our minds and follow. Joining me on the show, Mr. Muralidharan is a political analyst joining us out of Chennai. Sudha Ramalingam, advocate with the Madras High Court. Anurag Naidu, activist with Think Right. Pinky Anand, additional Solicitor General for the Government of India. Justice Yatinder Singh, former Chief Justice of the Chhattisgarh High Court. And Swami Gagan Shastri is a Hindu scholar. I welcome all of you to this conversation and I thank you for your time. I'd start with Ms. Anand. Pinky Anand, many thanks for giving us your time this evening here on Mirror Now. I appreciate the time you've given us. Very clear judgment by the Supreme Court. Although it was not unanimous, it was 4-1, but still it called out really for equality for women across religion.
You know, I mean, there's that much you can say for the fact that equality has been ranked as a premium and a basic need which has been carved out from, of course, the Constitution in Articles 14, 15 and 21 of the Constitution. But aside from that, the whole outlook of doing away with outmoded practices which have no basis or rationality, nor any provision which safeguards them in any manner, to ensure that these practices are done away so that women can be equal participants in the demographic and the democratic structure of the country. And I think it's a very heartening situation where you find that all perspectives are taken into account, but what ranks the highest is life of dignity and what we possibly today call functional constitutionalism and constitutional morality. So I think with these kind of objectives in mind, we've moved miles ahead. This will reinforce not only the constitutional beliefs, but the fact that women will have the advantage of being secure in the concept that they are able to be equal participants in society without any antiquated or archaic practices which keep them out of the horizons.
In fact, I just want to read out some of the portions, and this is page number 93. I'll take this question to Justice Singh. Justice Singh, thank you for your time as well. The notions of public order, morality and health cannot be used as colorable devices to restrict freedom to freely practice religion and discriminate against women of the age group of 10 to 50 years by denying them their legal right to enter and offer their prayers. So again, and as the Supreme Court has reminded us over and over again, that majority ideas, or just because an idea has been carried out for so long, doesn't make it right and doesn't make it above the Constitution. Justice Singh.
Customs, religious practices have to keep pace with time.
Yes.
Those that do not are either outlawed by the legislature or declared illegal by the court. Sati, widows' remarriage, child marriage, triple talaq are examples. So far as ban of entry of women is concerned, this custom was there, but this custom was evolving. From the middle of the last century, if you see, the women were permitted inside the temple.
Yes.
But actually, its entire movement got derailed because of a backward judgment of the Kerala High Court. A petition was sent to one particular judge of Kerala High Court, mentioning therein that a girl walked Sabri Hill and she worshipped in the temple. And the first rice feeding ceremony of granddaughter of the chairperson of Devasanam board, which manages all temples in Kerala, this was held. It should be stopped. Unfortunately, the Kerala High Court took a backward step. In the petition before the Kerala High Court,
yes,
the Kerala state as well as the board filed affidavit indicating the Maharani herself visited the temple and women of all ages were permitted inside the temple to worship, except for certain days. Now, despite this, the Kerala High Court issued a direction to board to ensure that women of that particular age should not be permitted. I think the Supreme Court did correct to set the judgment at naught and set the entire thing in the correct perspective. The constitutional morality is that you cannot discriminate women. The women cannot be discriminated merely on certain biological or physiological reason. To my mind, it's a great judgment and kudos for women empowerment.
Kudos for women empowerment indeed. Opening statements from the rest of our panel. We have Swami Gagan Shastri, who's a Hindu scholar, join us out of the Noida studio. Swami Gagan Shastri, do you agree that this is kudos to women empowerment? This is one step towards a more equal nation?
First I just want to say that whatever is happening, right, we are seeing that all the entire religion is not giving the same equality for the women and the men, right, as compared to men. But it is not right. It is something like that. If you will see of all the temples of entire nation, the women are allowed to worship and can go in any temple, do worship whatever she wants to do. But when we are saying just because of only a specific temple and for a specific age group, if the person, if the women are not allowed inside, so there is a reason, because every temple has their own deity and deity has their own rules and regulations. The only basis of that it is there, but it has nothing to do with the inequality. It is nothing to do with the empowerment. In our religion you will see the more goddess temple than men, right? We are giving equal status, even the higher status of a woman. If you will see that the Kanya Puja in Navratri and everywhere, you will not see that there is a discrimination between women and men, right? But only on a few points. But what exactly is happening when we see as a social point of view why the women are not allowed, this is a discrimination. When we see on this point of view, we will see this is wrong. But when we see at a religious point of view, religious point do not discriminate in the matter of it's a male or female. It's for the betterment of humanity, for the human wellness. This is the only point. It has nothing to do with the discrimination in the culture or in the it has nothing to do discrimination in our scriptures and in our text, right? So, but now what exactly is happening? So, only one point, they are pick out only one point, and on the basis of one point, we are question mark on entire religion. That is totally wrong thing. With my point of view, that
yes,
and even our religion, we respect
Shastri,
women, we give equal. We give
I don't believe anybody's. I don't believe anybody's drawing
Yes.
a question mark on the entire religion. In fact, we're all very clear about the arguments that were made before the Supreme Court. There were 13 different respondents who responded in this particular case and placed their arguments before the Supreme Court and made very clear arguments as to what what that stand should be. And then the Supreme Court, the 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court, has arrived at its decision. I don't think this can be boiled down to just putting a question mark on the entire religion. I don't think that's the case at all. Sudha Ramalingam, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I would like to reiterate and state that women now are no longer to be seen as impure during menstruation period, and it is not a matter of just confining to one particular temple. This definitely, this judgment will have a greater impact on the society as such. The fact that a woman is allowed to enter the temple between the ages of 10 to 50 will empower her to also say that she is no more disadvantaged just because of her physical condition. After all, it is a biological happening which is given by nature. You cannot discriminate the woman on this basis, and I do not think that it had any logic or reason behind it, and it is definitely to be seen as something which has been hampering the woman's equality. So the Supreme Court, in its right wisdom, has ensured that women can enter these temples, and I hope this wisdom will also permeate us into our own homes, allowing women during their periods time to also enter their kitchens, which is being deprived of even by people who are in the Western in the Western countries.
Yes, in fact, let me take that question back to Swami Gagan Shastri. This practice, which is not just to do with this one specific temple, of shunning women who are currently on their periods, women who are in menstruation, from the puja ghar, from the kitchen, from other activities in the house, making them sit by themselves in their bedrooms, even today, even in the big cities, is that something that you believe we should now eradicate? Because this belief is an extension of that.
I just want to say there was a there was a time when the proper sanitation and proper things were not there. Now the science is improved, that the things are better as compared to previous. If we will see that 500 or 1500 years ago, the situation was totally different. But nowadays you will see the women are doing everything on the menstruation time, but it has no discrimination on the basis of that. Even if you will see that we see impure, if you will see the Kamakhya temple in Assam, you will see that we celebrate this because this is about the fertility things.
No, you're not answering my question. So 1 second. Swami Gagan Shastri, my question to you is this. So in the spirit of what you're saying, and I acknowledge what you're saying, this is exactly what the court is telling us as far as Sabrimala judgment is concerned. We need to now look at this differently. We can no longer look at menstruation or the age of menstruation as something that causes women to be impure. Can we take that extension into all of our households and stop shunning women during their periods?
I agree with this point that this is not about the impurity. It is something like that. Whenever we take care of anything, like when we do in sadhana and everything, so we talk about the chakras and everything. So there is a period that when we should not do on a specific puja or on a specific thing, not in a daily routine, not in a kitchen. Everything is fine in nowadays. It has nothing to do with the routine work. It is not disturbing routine work. But there are the things where even when they talk about the celibacy for a man as well, it's not about the women thing. It's about there are so many restrictions for male person as well, that if you are doing any rituals, there is a reasons. But why when you doing any ritual, so you have to follow this thing. So it is applicable. It is not on the basis of gender. It is equally important for both of them. So when you talk about the religion do not discriminate on the basis of gender.
But in this particular case,
working on the human being, right?
In this particular case, the Supreme Court has decided that this was discrimination based on gender and has removed that discrimination. Muralidharan has a point to make. B.M. Muralidharan, go ahead, please.
Faye, we are still beating around the menstruating part. I don't think that's the point. The point actually is the 41 days of birth. These people fast mentally and physically. Then they enter the Sabarimala. Okay. During that course, there's no intercourse also, and they don't want to get disturbed looking at women. That's it's actually to discipline the men. This is something to discipline the men. This has nothing to do with demeaning women. Let's
what
understand.
you're saying right now is demeaning women.
You take majority of the houses are run by women. Women.
What you're saying right now, I find demeaning, Mr. Muralidharan. You say that men are fasting and abstaining from sexual intercourse, so they don't want to be disturbed by looking at us?
Yes.
What does that make us?
Yeah, it's a devotional trip. It's supposed to be a divine trip. These guys can get disturbed. See, they go without all these. So that's a reason
they
why
get disturbed.
Women between the age of the menstruating age has been banned.
They get
it's
disturbed.
It's not gender discrimination. Or it's disturbing because it could disturb a man. It's like it's like our ancient theories, where Ramba and Urvashi used to dance in front of the saints. It's something like that. They didn't want to get
I promise
disturbed.
you,
that's why the Brahmacharya avatar was given to Sabarimala.
No, hang on. So you were saying that women are temptresses.
To laugh about, right? This is the belief.
No, I wasn't the one laughing. Sudha Ramalingam was the one laughing. But are you saying that women are temptresses, and if we go to a temple, basically we'll be tempting
I can't help laughing.
See, she can laugh, but no, you can laugh because don't behave like Jane. See, all our houses are run by women. They have all the authority. We are like their servants, and we you make it look like Milson Boone. You all like Jane, and Tarzan is a He-Man there, and he want to save you all. It's not the point here. The point is it's a religious thing, it's a custom. Why I am disappointed, I'll tell you. 2016 there was a verdict when someone went and filed a writ in the Supreme Court to ban animal sacrifices. You know what the court said? These are religious practices thousands of years old. We can't stop it. The same court has contradicted today. Now, who needs liberation? Now, who needs equal rights? Women who need rights, women who need support. You take the case. No, take the case of casting couches. Casting couches. First we had Shriya Reddy. Now we have Tanushree Datta. Now who's supporting them? Forget the men. Not even women are voicing for them. They are the ones who need that. Those are the cases which the Supreme Court should take up. This is a very sensitive religious issue. They shouldn't have touched it. That's my feeling.
Okay, all right. First of all, I just want to put out here very clearly that this channel has come out in support of Tanushree Datta yesterday. B, we do not support Mr. Muralidhar's, questioning of the Supreme Court and its motives at this point. The channel does not endorse what he is saying, and we don't support what he is saying.
No, I'm not questioning. I'm saying there's a contradiction.
You just did. And thirdly, we certainly don't support Mr. Muralidharan's ideas that women are temptresses who tempt men who are fasting. That's not the idea we support. Then what happens in our offices when someone is fasting and praying? Well, then should women lock themselves up? What happens when we go to work? What happens to women who argue in front of the Supreme Court? Should they also stop being temptresses then? Pinky Anand, do you want to respond to this argument made by B.M. Muralidharan?
I'm afraid it's so difficult to digest these kind of attempts to justify practices that have totally outmoded, aside from being outmoded, which have no rationale, no logic, but for the fact that you are trying to prevent women from either entering. The same kind of thing, for example, at one stage happened in Haji Ali, and the ground pleaded was security. Now Haji Ali, of course, ultimately did allow women to come in on their own after the Bombay High Court judgment. Now these kind of practices, frankly, wherever they are born out of some kind of issue which has been developed over the course of time to keep women out of central places. And I'll tell you one thing, even in kitchens, you do find even now that women are prevented from entering when they are menstruating or having their periods. How long can we carry on this kind of irrational practices or deeming menstruation to be impure when it is a part of the natural processes of a woman and of a family and of society? The only ground ultimately when you can indulge in, or rather carry on essential religious practices, this cannot by any perception be an essential practice of religion. These are practices founded 10 to 50 I mean, what are you saying, that over 50 women are not temptresses? That is what the petitioners are trying to argue? Or only under 50 they can be in that position? Each of these arguments is as illogical over the other, and it stands over its head. I think we must understand where we do espouse religion. We all respect it, but religion cannot be respected on the threshold of indignity or dishonor.
Absolutely. Anurag Naidu, activist with an organization called Think Right. Go ahead, please.
Faye, I would quickly like to make two important points. I have patiently heard Mr. Muralidharan's argument and also Pinky Anand's argument. This is very important to note that Mr. Muralidharan, the kind of argument that Muralidharan ji is making is the very reason why I believe personally that we have lost the case. And I tell you why. Women not being able to perform vrata is not a right argument. Because when we are saying that, we are self-contradicting our fact, self-contradicting ourselves and our argument that it has got to do only with menstruation and it has got to do with the tantric powers that the temple has. It is very clear from Justice Chandrachud's statement that he has taken into cognizance the fact that we are talking about some physiological reasons which is nothing but stigmatizing women. Number one. Number two, about Pinky Anand. We never said, and we should never say, that menstruation is something that is dirty or this something that is impure. That is not the argument at all. So we have to be very clear that these are the things that I believe personally that the honorable judges of the Supreme Court were misled, or maybe we were not able to communicate to them in a much better way, or we were self-contradicting in our own arguments, the various arguments that we made. Number two, the most important thing is I am here today very disappointed. Disappointed for two reasons. One, and the most important, is we had a really strong argument on the basis of facts, right? We had a very strong arguments in the interest of the temple, and yet we lost the case. Number two, I'm very disappointed because we could not protect the privacy of our own Lord Ayyappa under Article 25, the very article that we all are bound with as the citizens of India. We are not able to protect our Lord. This is basically because of multiple arguments put out by panelists like us and Muralidharan ji on various channels and making a movement, a confusing movement. And I personally believe that the judges were a bit confused by different kind of analysis that we are putting in. If you see Sai Deepak's argument and on various channels, it makes very clear what are we talking about. Number one, we are not talking about menstruation being impure. Come on, we need to understand. Number two, we are not talking about women not being able to do vrata. Saying
my
that
friend,
women
I said
not
the
being
same
able
thing,
to
my
do vrata
friend.
is itself demeaning the capabilities of a
All
woman.
right. No, so 1 second. Anurag Naidu, let me point out to you that there were 13 respondents in this particular case. There were 5 sitting judges of the Supreme Court. To assume that the respondents completely misled the judges and the 5 judges were easily confused, I think would be offensive to the Supreme Court and perhaps oversimplifying the entire situation. Justice Yatinder Singh, do you want to respond to this, please?
So far as Mr. Muralidharan's argument is concerned, I would just like to say that if the men are tempted, disturbed, then they shouldn't go there. I mean, that's no ground for denying women from entering inside the temple. So far as Mr. Muralidharan's point is concerned, there's something to be said there. First thing is that this custom or this wrong practice ought to have been abolished by the state itself. They shouldn't have left it on the court to do it. Many times the government are not able to take the unpopular decisions because of the vote politics. This is the duty. As a matter of fact, the state should have come out a law and they shouldn't have made a particular rule or they should have made a law in conformity with Article 25(2)(b), permitting women of all age to enter inside the temple. The moment you sort of give handle to the court to do it, not realizing that today it has gone on long term, you are going to have very bad repercussions. Ultimately, one day might come that we will no longer be governed by the government elected by the people. We will be governed by the judges nominated by the judges themselves. This is something the government should do it by itself. Don't leave it to the court to correct the illegality or absurdity.
Sudha Ramalingam, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I would like to say about this argument of putting the burden of, the court itself has said, putting the burden of safeguarding the celibacy of the god or the men who are going there on women itself is stigmatizing women. I think it is something demeaning to say that women should not be there just because the other men may lose their celibacy. What type of men are these people? Just looking at another woman or standing side by side, would they lose anything? They don't lose their chastity, they don't lose anything. The arguments that are put forth are very, very frivolous, and they do not understand that women are definitely human beings on par with men, and they have the right to equality conferred on them by the Constitution of India as well as all the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and other covenants of the United Nations Organization. So it is our duty to ensure that women are safe at every place and are allowed entry at every place at any point of time of their life. So unless we accept this, I think we'll be going backwards and not going forwards. We are in the 21st century. We'll have to ensure equal participation for women in all walks of life, equal entry for women at every place.
Absolutely. And the quote, of course, that Sudha Ramalingam is referring to is from Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, where he said, the ban says the presence of women deviates from celibacy. This is placing the burden of a man's celibacy on women. It stigmatizes them and stereotypes them, Mr. Muralidharan. This is in response to the argument you were making that because men need to be celibate when they visit the temple, women cannot be around as temptation. If you categorize women in that manner, it stigmatizes them and stereotypes them. That's the Supreme Court's response to your argument.
Yeah, Faye, but see, as I said earlier also, like answering to Sudha as well as to Honorable Justice here, these are issues which are very sensitive. Taking up these issues, see, it's one out of millions of temples which are, which has this practice. So what about, why should we make a, mountain out of a molehill? So that's my question. Why should we make it? And this doesn't. It looks like as the gentleman out there who pointed out saying that everybody is giving a different view. That's why the judges have taken a turn like this. And I would like to quote what Justice Indu Gupta said. She said, "You're opening a Pandora's box, and this could lead to various other things."
Justice Indu Malhotra.
One such. Pardon?
Her name is Justice Indu Malhotra, not Indu Gupta.
Yes, Indu Malhotra. Yes. Okay, sorry, Indu Malhotra. Yeah, sorry, Hindu Malhotra. That's what she said. You're opening up Pandora's box. No, this is where the problem is. I mean, this is this definitely going to cause some disturbance in the country. That's what we felt.
Well, let's pick up the conversation from there, and also from what Justice Singh said. Should the courts be making decisions on religious matters? Pinky Anand, should our courts be making decisions on religious matters? There was the Haji Ali matter before that, and then one before that, and the triple talaq argument was also that it was a religious matter and the court should not interfere. Where do you stand on the question of courts making decisions on religious matters?
No, the court is not making decision on religious matters. In fact, what the court does decide and what the court has been doing, whether it's in the course of triple talaq or the current judgment, is exactly what is an essential religious practice. Because under the constitution, what is protected, and that too subject to some restrictions, is what is an essential practice. So what is an essential practice is protected, what is not an essential practice is not protected. And I think that determination has to be done by the court based upon the submissions made before it to decide what is an essential practice. And in this case, the court decides that this is not an essential practice of religion and therefore not protected. And even otherwise, if protected, it is Article 25 is subject to public order, morality and health. Each of these considerations is important. Not only that, Article 21, which is the overwhelming right which is there for all citizens of this country, is that you have a right to live with dignity. And please understand whenever we've been talking, let's go back to Sati, for example. Sati was pleaded to be protected being customary. Now, customary and religious or by law is somewhat on the same paramaterial lines, but it was struck down. Now, whether it is struck down by the court or whether it is done by an act of parliament, that may be a subject matter. But the point is, we are on a date and time where we have to test whether any practice which is being performed, which does not have any constitutional protection, can meet the requirements and the test of the rule of law, of non-arbitrariness, of non-discrimination, and definitely in this case as much as any other, not based upon any rational connection between the object in hand and the subject matter of the issue.
In fact, our phone lines have now begun to buzz, and the question that I'm asking is, should the Supreme Court or should any court at this point be making these decisions? Swaminathan on the phone line from Hyderabad. Mr. Swaminathan, go ahead.
Yes,
You'll have to mute your television in the background, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes.
As a person from one of the South Indian states, I can say with some confidence that the women from the South Indian states, if at all given a chance through a survey, they also will not immediately opt for visiting the temple.
Okay.
If a gentleman from the family is visiting and observe the penance for 41 days, abstaining from non-veg, garlic, ginger, to everything else that goes with that tradition. And they will be celebrating it after the person comes back, after a puja, and then go back to life. Now, nobody is objecting to Supreme Court's decision. But will the activists go and touch the Supreme Court again to get a freedom of expression, saying that we will not wear black and black robe, that is what is stated by the tradition. We will want to express ourselves the way we want. Will the Devasam set the board, the rules, or the Supreme Court set the rules? Who will set the rules for that? Expression of the freedom of dressing.
Okay.
Will they follow the tradition, or will they go with shorts and jeans and whatever else they feel like?
Fair question. Sudha Ramalingam, do you want to answer that? Will women actually choose to go there to Sabrimala, and will they follow the black, the black dress code?
It's not merely black dress code. Actually, I think devotees go even in other saffron and white also. By and large, they go with black. More so because it's very easy. It's definitely better to maintain that because they go with very little. The quantity of things that they can carry on the head is very little. So it's convenient for them to use black, and you cannot belittle the rights which the women are fighting for with saying that are they now going to ask for going with jeans or even with half pants or anything like that. This is like really belittling everything. What we are asking for is only an equality before law, equal protection of law, and ensure that we are also allowed to enter in. We don't say that no, we will go and be there as a pujari. We are not going to go and say that we are going to do everything which is beyond what is permitted within the religious customs. So what women are now trying to say is, we will also go travel, do this pilgrimage, go and meet this, see this God and seek his blessings. I just don't understand how you can just cast such aspersions on women, saying that and women are not that unreasonable. We have our own logic. We know where our limits are. We will not be fighting for unnecessary things.
Very well said. We also have Ramanan on the phone line from Bangalore. Mr. Ramanan, go ahead very quickly, please.
Hi, good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
I would, let me just start saying that Supreme Court should have not interfered into this. It's a religious belief, and this has opened a Pandora's box. I'm sure you might be knowing that, wherever we have liquor prohibition in India, the churches are given license to stock liquor. So that's going to be in line. I mean, if Supreme Court has taken up this, then probably one day you will get a petition to have this cancelled as well. Having said that, let me just,
okay, fair enough. What's your point, Mr. Ramanan?
So my point is that, while I agree that women should be allowed to go to this temple, I have been to this temple and you know,
Okay,
coming
so
November.
all right, okay.
Women should be allowed to.
Okay, so women should be allowed to go to this. And then this is the point that Justice Yatinder Singh made, that these are effectively decisions that governments should have taken. And in the absence of the government taking a decision, here we have the courts that have to step in. Pinky Anand, would you respond to what Justice Singh said, that the judges are having to do more and more of the government's job?
No, I don't think so. See, please understand, today in time what we need to really look at is what courts have a power of judicial review. Courts have a right to protect what the fundamental rights guaranteed in the constitution are. If the action is to be taken, it can be taken definitely at both levels. It can be taken by the court and it can be taken by the parliament, or depending on the fact of the state legislature. It may vary. But today nobody can say that the court does not have the power of judicial review to safeguard fundamental rights, and equality and having non-discriminatory practices is definitely one such right.
Right. I saw Anurag Naidu put his hand up. Mr. Naidu, go ahead.
I'm disappointed again for three things. One, we are not talking about Naistika Brahmacharya, number one. Number two, we are not talking about Sthala Purana. Sthala Purana is something that is the core of every Indian temple.
Okay.
Third, we are not talking about Bhutanatha Upakyanam, a scripture which is ancient and hundreds of years of old, which is the basis and the foundation of the practices that are done there. We were talking about Tirupati temple. We broke out the story about Ramana Dikshitulu making objections. These objections were based on Agama Shastra not being followed in the Tirupati temple. So we are not discussing about that, and we are making some kind of a general argument saying, you know, boss, this is discrimination. And one more most important thing, we are talking about celibacy. You know what we should be talking about? We should be talking about eternal celibacy. That celibacy that God has said, boss, this is my choice. God is not saying, boss, I am a celibate. So, you know, this is something that is prone to happen. God is saying, boss, I am an eternal celibate. I have imposed celibacy on myself. So please, this is my wish that I don't want to see a woman of this age. You know, so if people or your panelists or people who are putting out the judgments or kind of a discussions on various national media should go through Bhutanatha Upakyanam, should know about Sthala Purana, which is the core of every Indian temple. Then these things have just gone for toss. And we are now discussing about jeans, we are discussing about clothes.
Allow Sudharamalingam to respond to you, please.
What if tomorrow women will go to the court?
What if, I mean, why? What? Okay, wait, finish your argument. What if tomorrow women do what? As a woman, I'd like to
go to court for everything. It's not only women who are going to court for this.
Tomorrow women go to the court.
Women are not the only persons who are going to
go to the court and say, boss, I cannot go in black and black. I will go in some colorful dress of my choice. It is my freedom.
Okay, all right. So let me answer that question on behalf of women, Mr. Naidu. Let me answer that question on behalf of women. Yeah, people knock on the doors of the court every day seeking their fundamental rights. If there is merit in the plea, the court will accept and admit that plea and then hear it. It's not like women are going to just go to the court and argue some nonsense. The court has to admit that plea as valid and then give that plea time. So to turn around today and belittle an argument and belittle a battle that has been fought, saying women are now going to go ask for this and now going to go ask for that, is to belittle the Supreme Court that admitted this plea and then asked for and then put together a 5-judge bench to listen to it, and then heard every single respondent from the other side and then made their decision. So don't turn around and tell me women will do this and women will do that. Of course, we will ask for everything. For every single injustice, we will knock on the doors of court, because that's where we will get our justice. And you are no one to sit here and tell us otherwise. Sudharamalingam, please go ahead.
Women know where to draw their line. They know their Lakshman Rekhas. They are only fighting for their equality. They are only fighting for dignity. We are not asking for anything. We are not begging for charity. What is being asked is something which is constitutionally given to them. A right which is given to them, a right which is to be an equal right. They are not begging for anything. They know their Lakshman Rekhas. They are not irrational beings. To understand that women are equal equal human beings, have to be treated equally, should be sent into every place. We are not asking for charity, and we will not be belittled by all such flimsy arguments. Kindly do not belittle the entire argument. The court has spent so much of time. The entire judgment is more than 400 pages. What have they done? They have spent so much of time and energy in order to ensure that the constitutional values are upheld.
Absolutely. Justice Singh, you know, and I'm obviously going to get upset about it when people suggest that women do ridiculous things, because it's very easy to just write off the entire one half of this entire human race and say women are delirious and emotional, and we'll go knocking on the doors tomorrow saying allow us to wear jeans. Nobody has to allow us to wear jeans. We can wear jeans just fine. Thank you very much, Mr. Naidu. But Justice Singh, explain to our panelists that the court has to admit, please, that there has to be a viability to a plea before we get any time before the court.
The court will
it has to be arguable case. Only then the court will entertain it and decide.
Filing any flimsy PLs.
1 second. Justice Singh, please. Justice Singh, go ahead.
One point also I like to make, answer to it. One of the reason which was given by the respondent.
Yes, go ahead, Justice Singh. Forgive me. Go ahead.
One of the reason which was given by the respondents why women are not permitted is this, that Lord Ayyappan is perennial celibate, and his celibacy or his austerity would be affected if women are permitted. I don't know how come Lord Ayyappan says that, from where he gets it. Say Lord Hanuman is also perennial brahmachari. He never says that. I have never seen a single temple of Lord Hanuman where women are not permitted. How can a celibacy of a god can be affected merely by the presence of women? I really fail to understand.
Pinky Anand, do you want to respond to the frivolous lawsuits that will be brought by women in the future after this bad precedence has been set?
I think the precedence has led to various eras of enlightenment, and I think what is being done is to do away with practices that are not only derogatory but have no rational basis nor any protection. I think the fight is not only for equality, it is for self. And I think that is a very important part of the struggle, of whether you take it in the concept of a Me Too struggle, or you take it in the concept of struggle for identity and dignity, or whether you take it as a struggle for equality. The idea is that today women are raising their voice in their quest for justice and knocking at the doors which they weren't earlier doing either. As if you talk about customary, women didn't go to court, generally speaking, because they were afraid of consequences, or not only of consequences, of being categorized as people who just went to court and even terrorized in that fashion. We've seen those eras also. So I think it's high time that whatever is just and right, and whatever is rational and constitutional, whatever is justified, is something that should be accorded by the systems that prevail in a democratic country like India.
Very beautifully said. I'm going to leave it there because we run out of time. But it boils down to equality between the genders and the fact that women have now... One second, I have run out of time. Women have now found a voice. They have found room. We have found spaces in which we will demand justice. And we will demand justice and equality, dignity in every single field. Every single field, every boardroom, every kitchen, every house, every living room, every office, every temple, every church, every mosque, every school, every college, every stage, every floor. Women will demand equality, dignity, and justice. It is a sound that you better get used to. The sound of a woman's voice. You could belittle it, you could call us frivolous, you can call us irrational, emotional, delirious, but we're here and we're not going anywhere. We're here to compete with you shoulder to shoulder. We will win fair and square, and when the rules are tilted against our favor, we will ask for justice. The one thing that we could unanimously agree on today is thank God for the Supreme Court, for the doors that opened and the ears that hear us, and the justice that was delivered to the women of India, not just in this one, particular judgment, but in several judgments over the last couple of weeks. Specific acknowledgement to Chief Justice, outgoing Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra, who retires on the 3rd of October, who has left with his legacy the LGBTQ judgment, where he crushed 377 and wrote it down, read it down, and caused so much freedom and so much happiness. The judgments that came after that, the judgment of adultery, judgment of Sabrimala, where women were given and were restored their honor and their dignity. We thank Chief Justice Deepak Mishra for giving us a realization that this is in fact a truly equal country. Thanks for watching.